Jesus, we want to thank you for the journey mercies that you have granted us to this place, Lord. Father, as we hold this press conference, come and guide us, King of Glory, Father. May all the calls to action, King of Glory, Father, and the issues that are going to come up, Lord, have a positive impact on your people. I pray all this, trusting and believing in Jesus Christ's name.
Yeah, thank you. The other item is that Parliament, allow me welcome our host member of Parliament, the other side, starting tomorrow, in her territory, doing a lot of work. So now, Stella, thank you for keeping time. Friends, today, Uganda Parliamentary Forum for Children, Uganda Parliamentary Alliance on Food and Nutrition, all four of the Parliament are joining efforts with our partners to launch the Parliamentary Nutrition Week, which started on the 20th. That was yesterday, but one with a TV talk show. UBC were well represented by colleagues who are telling the country what we are looking at. This week-long event is part of the Uganda Parliamentary Alliance on Nutrition Security, and these partners, we are having an ongoing commitment in raising awareness and advocating for stronger policies to improve food and nutrition security across Uganda. It is designed to highlight the current status of malnutrition, drive national discourse, and champion sustainable and inclusive and lasting solutions, particularly for underserved communities. Parliamentary Nutrition Week is featuring a wide range of activities, including policy forums, community outreach, school-based nutrition and agriculture education, media engagements, and exhibitions, culminating in the celebration of World Nutrition Day on May 20th in Moroto District. Why the Nutrition Week? Malnutrition remains a significant public health issue in Uganda, with alarming statistics reflecting the severity of the situation. Approximately 29% of children under 5 years are stunted, indicating chronic malnutrition that adversely affects their physical, cognitive development. In addition, about 4% of children in this age group are wasted, which signifies acute malnutrition and highlights the immediate repercussions of inadequate food intake and diseases. Furthermore, about 12% of children under 5 are classified as underweight, indicating they are not gaining sufficient weight for their age. Malnutrient deficiencies are also at critical, with the iron deficiency, anemia impacting approximately 50% of women of reproductive age, and vitamin A deficiency being prevalent among young children. Additionally, the World Food Programme estimates that around 12% of the population faces food insecurity, with varying degrees of severity. Despite Uganda's rich agricultural resources and being considered the food basket of East Africa, malnutrition persists at alarming levels, affecting millions of Ugandans, especially children, women, and vulnerable communities. According to the Uganda Demographic and Health Survey 2022, 24% of children under 5 years all are stunted. Over 3.2% are wasted, 9.7% are underweight, and 3.4% are overweight. Additionally, more than 53% of women of reproductive age in Uganda suffer from anemia, which is one of the leading causes of maternal mortality. This situation has serious implications for the equality of human capital, education outcomes, and healthcare costs of women, infants, and children. Malnutrition affects children's growth, their ability to learn, and their disease resistance. It burdens families and health systems and undermines Uganda's economic development by weakening the foundation of our human capital. It remains a major global and national health concern. Those statistics underscore the urgent need of targeted interventions to combat malnutrition in Uganda. Why Zero on Karamoja? Moroto district and the wider sub-region have been selected as the host area due to the high burden of malnutrition, characterized by stunting, wasting, food insecurity, and malnutrition deficiencies, especially among women and children. This location offers an opportunity to spotlight local innovations in food and nutrition, such as school gardens and integrated early childhood development models, and strengthen the link between policy and community through direct engagement. According to the 2024 National Population Housing Census, 26% of children aged 6 to 12 in Uganda are out of school, with the Karamoja bearing the heaviest burden, where poverty, chronic hunger, and insecurity have left thousands of children behind. Hunger is both a cause and a consequence of this crisis. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics Service Delivery Report further reveals that over 50% of learners in Uganda do not receive a meal at school, significantly affecting enrollment and learning outcomes. To achieve Uganda's human capital development goals under NDP 4, strategic investments in education, nutrition, and health are essential. In Karamoja, the World Food Program, in partnership with the government of Uganda, delivers daily hot meals to over 250 learners, helping to retain children in school while boosting attendance and academic outcomes. Through its homegrown approach, over 2,000 metric tons of food are annually procured from local farmers, thus injecting USD 1.9 million into Karamoja's rural economy.
Our host member of Parliament, I want to start by thanking Uganda Parliamentary Alliance on Food and Nutrition Security for actually holding this parliamentary week. And I want to thank the partners who have actually contributed and supported the process, and I'm sure you will lead to the success of all the celebration of the week. I also want to thank the whole team. I'm sure that it's not only Uganda Parliamentary Alliance that actually made the choice of the activity to take place in Karamoja. It took place, it happened as a result of the brainstorming from everybody and agreeing. And I'm sure you agreed to do it in Moroto just because, as much as, despite of the indicators, the poor indicators that the chair just stated in relation to the food insecurity and also malnutrition in the country, Karamoja actually contributes a lot in terms of those who are indicators. That is why you go there. And I'm happy because it will actually refresh government in terms of remembering intervening into Karamoja to ensure that there is food security in Karamoja. It will also remind the world in terms of knowing that Karamoja needs help in terms of food security, and of course it brings all the stakeholders concerned about food security in this country to know that Karamoja is one of the needy areas in terms of food security and nutrition.
And if we talk about the school feeding, we need to invest in our indigenous varieties. Why? Because it reduces on the cost of input materials in terms of seeds, because our local seeds, they can be reused, they can be shared locally, as opposed to all the time getting to the markets, buying seeds and putting it in the schools. Our schools do not yet have that capacity to continuously go buy seed and plant. But if we have the local seed systems functional, then they can be able to share the seeds from the communities to support the school feeding at very low and affordable costs. I think that is the way to go. And as a country, we need to adopt progressive policies such as the National Agriculture Strategy, which really speaks to all the angles of the interaction with nature. It speaks to the science, it speaks to the sustainable practices, but also it speaks to the movement of farmers, of leaders advocating for policies that promote sustainable food systems in Uganda. With this chair, I'm quite confident that the Nutrition Week will be a very good vehicle for delivering this message to the country and the rest of the world. Thank you so much.
We call upon the government of Uganda to deliberately support the production and consumption of traditional and indigenous foods that are nutritious, locally available, and culturally relevant to regional and cultural contexts. These foods are vital for combating malnutrition, preserving our heritage, and empowering communities to thrive sustainably.
To add my voice, or Fear in Uganda's voice, to the voice of the honorable members of parliament, as we reflect on the theme of this Nutrition Week of empowering people, of empowering better nutrition for the people, we want to call upon the government of Uganda for immediate reinstatement of the food reserves in the country, including Karamoja region. Given the statistics that have already been given here by both the honorable members of parliament, these reserves, when managed locally and stocked with culturally appropriate food, we think it can act as a buffer against the droughts, the floods, and all natural calamities that hit the region. But also given the fact that we know in Uganda there are regions that produce in abundance, these reserves can help in redistribution of this food where it is produced in abundance, and areas where there is scarcity due to given factors can equally benefit from this food through the redistribution. So therefore, our call is for a dedicated budget allocations for these reserves if they are to be reinstated, because we've had them before, but also a legal and policy reform through swift passage of the Food and Nutrition Bill with a clear provision for district reserves as well, in line with our constitution mandate, because we know Objective 22 of our constitution provides for this and urges government to provide means or to ensure means of food security, including food reserves, but also internationally it is recognized under the International Covenant on Social and Economic Rights. We therefore commit to stand with our parliamentary partners in turning this vision into a reality. Thank you very much.
We urge the government of Uganda to expedite the approval of the draft national policy on genetic resources for food and agriculture. This will ensure that nutrient-dense agricultural resources are secured, studied and appropriately deployed to support the nation's food and nutrition security, income generation, and sustainable socio-economic transformation of our societies. This also fosters the contribution of strategies like the establishment of community seed banks in vulnerable regions like Karamoja to ensure timely access to locally adapted seeds. We call upon the government to put the school feeding policy into action, and the Minister of Education should take charge of it, working in close coordination with other relevant ministries and stakeholders. The Minister should ensure that this policy is enforced in all learning institutions to guarantee that school children have access to safe, nutritious, and adequate meals while at school.
What I'm going to ask is that I think Uganda needs to act like people who are in a room and have seen a snake. So do you remain sitting or you start running? The figures that we see here requires us to start running. We cannot have children, 50% of the children going to school without food, and then we remain seated. We need to run. These are matters of national importance, that we need to act now. Just because they are slow killers does not mean that they are not serious. Chair, honestly, that's what I wanted to add, that we need to act now. Thank you.
Because it affects not just the quality of the brain of the child, but it also affects the ability of the child to consistently go to school. Actually, statistics show that over 15% of children repeat class simply because of malnutrition associated causes. And so this is not just a joking subject, it is a very serious conversation, especially when we are talking about the development trajectory that we need to take as a country. Our development is supposed to be based on a strong human capital development. And when we are not able to grow a human capital development from the child that we have today to an employee we'll have tomorrow, then we'll have a human capital that is unable to be as productive as we would want. So that is key, and it's important that we invest in this area if we are thinking about questions of development. How do we want to develop as a country? And statistics already showing us that financing for nutrition is consistently going down. Okay, with more financing in nutrition specific and nutrition sensitive, but with limited investment in the environment, legal and policy, in the areas of coordination. And so without coordination and having in place a legal framework, we'll have a challenge in terms of providing leadership, in terms of ensuring that we have efficient and effective investment in nutrition. So our call is that we need to rethink financing for nutrition, especially as we go into the new financial year. How are we financing nutrition? Especially for coordination and a legal framework. That for us is very, very important. Also, at the Nutrition Week, one of the things that is important about it is the aspect of sensitization. Statistics actually show that if you're to deal with malnutrition, sensitization will deliver for you up to 40% of the results you need. And so taking this conversation to Karamoja is very important because it is part of that sensitization process. If you go to Karamoja has stunting rates of about 43.9. That means almost 1 in 2 children are stunted compared to the national average of about 26%. We cannot sit back and look at a region that has almost 1 in every 2 children being stunted. It is just not bad for Karamoja, it is bad for this country. And so what is in Karamoja and what is a challenge elsewhere, we must address. I know we said malnutrition wherever it is bad, but we need to emphasize on those pockets where malnutrition is highest, because those are the regions that actually drive our growth upwards. Okay? Because if you look at Teso, for example, Teso has stunting at 12%. Teso is right next to Karamoja. Certainly we can do something and ensure that we are able to narrow the gap between Karamoja and other regions. But also that we raise awareness that we need to invest in interventions that reduce malnutrition in the Karamoja region, specifically as a special case consideration. I thank you.
We are quite grateful that it is the Parliament taking lead on this awareness drive to awaken up the country. Actually, when you talk about food and nutrition security, what should come first is securing the seed. Because it is the seed that guarantees the food and the nutrition security. And therefore, I'm glad that as part of the week, we shall be having exhibition demonstrating how Uganda is rich and diverse in terms of the different varieties of the food that we have that are highly nutritious. Unfortunately, this diversity is not being utilized by our very people. If I can draw you back to the olden days, we used to have people living up to more than 80 years, 90 years. But why is it that today the life expectancy is below 60 years. It speaks to how we consume and how we interact with the ecological system. God naturally balanced all this sugar, carbohydrates, all that in the different foods that we have. So we need to get back to our traditional African food, which is rich in the different nutrients. We are not saying that the kind of food we have these days is not rich, but we are saying the African food and the system is quite richer and will yield us a better as a country.
I want to say that you're welcome, and I want to assure you that the district is prepared to receive the team and also celebrate the week together with all the partners and government stakeholders that are involved in the celebration of this week. Preparation meetings have been taking place, and the leading person was the district health officer with the team together with the CAOS office. So I have no doubt that the district is aware of your coming and is prepared of your coming. Otherwise, I thank you, and I pray that we all push together for government to review its policies and also to implement, because there are some of policies that have been put in place to curb down the issue of food insecurity and malnutrition in the country. But it's just the reason, the aspect of implementation, making sure that all what is planned in that takes place. So I want to thank you and welcome each of you to work hand in hand together with government to ensure that all the plans and the thoughts to fight food insecurity and ensure food security in the country is actually achieved. Thank you so much.
We call upon the government of Uganda to deliberately support the production and consumption of traditional and indigenous foods that are nutritious, locally available, and culturally relevant to regional and cultural contexts. These foods are vital for combating malnutrition, preserving our heritage, and empowering communities to thrive sustainably. We urge the government of Uganda to expedite the approval of the draft national policy on genetic resources for food and agriculture. This will ensure that nutrient-dense agricultural resources are secured, studied, and appropriately deployed to support the nation's food and nutrition security.